Hello there guys, and welcome to this Explain 11 video. Today we're going to be doing a full tutorial of the FlyJSim Boeing 727 version 3. For the purpose of our tutorial today, we're going to be flying from Juneau International to Ketchikan International in Alaska. We're going to be cruising at about 22,000 feet and our approximate flight time is 45 minutes. It is my aim in this tutorial to provide beginners with the basics they need to operate the FlyJSim 727 using the default Explain 11 FMC. So without further ado, let's get started. As many of you have been asking if I'm using any shaders, I am using Xvision with the immersive preset, and for this video I'm using FS Global Real Weather for weather generation. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at our weight and balance. And by clicking here, as you can see, we have about 24,000 pounds of fuel, which is what we require for our flight today. And the interesting thing is that when I did this same flight in the A320, the amount of fuel required was significantly less. This is, of course, due to the fact that the 727 has an additional engine, so it's got a total of 3. And of course, fuel efficiency is far better on the A320. So this looks good. What we're going to do now is we're going to head over to the engineer station. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn the battery on. Battery is on, galley power is off, and this is on APU. The next thing we can do is we're going to go ahead and start the APU. That's good. We're just going to wait for the APU now to become available. All right, the APU now is available. We can turn on the generator. And we can head over here back to the engineer station. We're going to go ahead and turn on the fuel pumps. All checks okay. And let's see here. Hydraulic system A is on, hydraulic system B is off. Everything here looks good. We're going to set our flight altitude to 22,000 feet, and all looks good here. All right, let's go ahead and head over to the overhead panel, and let's see here. We're going to arm the emergency lights. We're going to turn on the fasten seatbelt and non-smoking signs. Window heat can go on, and let's see here, 2000 for our transponder code. And everything else looks good to me. All right, let's head over to the FMC now. And what I've done is I created the flight plan using SimBrief. So we're just going to go to the menu, company route, and we're going to select Juneau to Ketchikan, which is this one here, Papa Alpha Juliet November to Papa Alpha Kilo Tango. Alright, so we have the flight plan loaded, and we're going to go to the departure. We're going to be departing today runway 26 at Juneau, and through the Juneau 5 departure, through the Lima Vector Delta transition, and then we're going to be arriving into Ketchikan at, we're going to do a direct to ILS 11 through the Doozy transition. Let's take a quick look at our flight plan here. Flight plan looks good. As you can see, it's a very short flight, but it should be enough for me to show you what you need to know to operate this aircraft using the FMC, the default Explain 11 FMC. All right, we need to go to climb and enter our cruise altitude, which is 22,000 feet for this flight. I'm going to stick it up here, and now we're pretty much good to go. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go to FS Global Real Weather, Now we're going to grab the altimeter, which is 3012. 3012. And we're going to stick it here as well, 3012. And on this side as well, 3012. There we go. We're going to set our altitude to 22,000 feet. Okay, altitude is set. And now we're pretty much ready to call the pushback truck. So we're going to turn on the beacon light. Everything looks good. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the overhead panel. And we're going to call the ground.
Hey, Captain, let me know where you want this thing.
All right.
Great news, Captain. Your tow's coming.
Right, let's make sure parking brake is set. We're going to set our trim by clicking here. And we're going to make sure the speed bugs are also set by clicking here. So the speed bugs are now set. And now we're pretty much ready for engine start. So we're just going to wait for the pushback truck to put us in our position. Alright, we are now ready to release the parking brake. Parking brake released.
Here comes the pushback. Light them up.
Alright, and we have clearance to start our engines as well, so I'm going to open the engine covers here, and we're going to start with the engine number 3. And we're going to observe 20% N1, and then we're going to give it some fuel. Beg your pardon, it's it's N2, not N1, so I was looking here. So we have now the engine number 3 starting. And we can go ahead now and start the engine number 2. And as we can observe the RPM rising now for engine number 2. We're coming up to 20%. All right.
Just about done here. Go ahead and set your parking brake. And we're disconnecting the tow. Give me just a moment.
Okay, so we've got one more engine to start, and we should be on our way momentarily. Alright, engine number 2 is now stable, so we're going to go ahead and start the engine number 1. We can disconnect the tow. And again, we're going to observe 20% N2, and we're going to give it some fuel. There we go, that's good enough.
And we're disconnected. Signal and pin on the left. Take it easy and have a safe flight.
Alright, so we're pretty much good now. We're just going to wait for the... Let me switch that here. And there we go. Weather radar is now on. Looks like we have some bad weather ahead of us. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look here at the overhead panel. We can close the guards now. And everything else looks good here. We're going to set auto brakes to rejected takeoff. And we're going to turn on the probe heat. And now we're going to head over to the engineer station again. And we can turn these guys on. And we can switch the power to generator 2. If we look over here, we need to turn off the engine tube leads. And everything else looks good here to me. And so we can go ahead now and kill the APU. Hydraulic system B will turn on. And we can now set our flaps for departure, so flaps 20. Alright, and taxi lights and runway turn-off lights are on. Navigation lights are on. Wing lights are on. We'll leave the strobe and the logo for the time being. And everything else looks good. So we're gonna go ahead and release the parking brake now and taxi to runway 26 for takeoff. Alright, we are approaching the hold short point for runway 26. Gonna make our final stop here before we enter the runway. Parking brake is set. And we're gonna turn on our landing lights. Taxi light off. Strobes can go on. And let's take a look here and make sure everything is okay. Looks like everything is good for departure. Alright, and let's go ahead and release the parking brake. Now with the Boeing 727, we need to be careful with the power. So we need about 97% of thrust
approaching 26
for departure, and then for climb we're going to reduce it to about 92.
on runway 26.
All right, we are now ready to go. .116 knots is our rotation speed.
80 knots.
Check.
E1. Rotate.
Rotate. Positive rate of climb. Gear is going up. Just going to try to keep the pitch here at 10 degrees, and we're going to try to gain some speed. And we're going to begin retracting the flaps. Let's go to flaps 5. Right, and I'm going to start retracting the flaps now. Alright, let's go ahead and let me take a look here. Yep, that's fine. We're going to go ahead and engage the autopilot, alt select, auxiliary nav, and IS hold. And as you can see now, let me just give you a closer look here. So what we've done is we turned the autopilot first, so we engage this. We clicked the knob here, or turned the knob to auxiliary nav. We hit on alt select, so I clicked this area here to arm the altitude select, and then we're going to turn the pitch selector to IAS hold. So now everything is looking good. We can put the landing gear in the off position now. And as you can see now, everything is looking good. The aircraft is going to hold at 250 knots because this knob is set here. So if you turn it, you can change the speed selector here. And as you can see, GPS is illuminated, the VOR lock, and alt select is still in orange, meaning that the aircraft has not yet reached the desired altitude. So we can expect the aircraft to level off at 22,000 feet, and then we're going to really have to manage our speed, as this aircraft does not have an auto throttle. TCAS is off. We can go ahead and turn it on here. Okay. Alright, so everything is looking good at the moment, and the aircraft is navigating to the next waypoint. Alright, 10,000 feet, and we can kill the lights here. And we're going to kill this one as well. So everything's looking good. Auto brakes, disarm. And everything is looking pretty good now. And we're going to continue our climb to 22,000 feet. Let's take a quick look at the engineer station. We need to set this guy here to flight. And everything else is looking pretty good. Alright, so we continue our climb now to 22,000 feet. Everything is per design intent. No issues whatsoever. So I'm going to let you guys enjoy the flight and check back with you as soon as we level off at 22,000 feet. Alright, as you can see now, the alt select is now in green. It means that we have reached our cruising altitude. And as you can see, the aircraft has leveled off. Vertical speed is now going to go to 0. And now alt is selected. Okay, so the aircraft will automatically set this to vertical speed, and everything else is working per design intent. Now, what you're going to see is you're going to start noticing that speed is going to go up because the aircraft, again, does not have an auto throttle. So what we're going to do is we're going to ease off on the power now, and we're going to take it to about 90% of N1. Monitor the speed. Speed's still going up. We're going to reduce it to about 85% of N1, and you have to just make slight corrections to your speed to maintain it. We don't want to go to 300 knots for sure, so I'm going to just ease off here on the power, about 80% now of N1. Looks like the speed is stable now. We need to go just slightly down. Alright, our speed is now good. Everything looks good. So for top of descent, as you can see, this FMC will not give you the top of descent point, and it does not have an automatic descent feature as well, as it does not have an auto throttle. One of the things we need to do prior to our approach into Kitchigan is calculate the top of descent point. And what we're going to do is we're going to come here and take a look at Sierra Quebec Mike. And let's see, it says that we're going to begin the descent here to 21, okay? And we need to be at 20 here at Lima Vector Delta. So we are at 22,000 feet. We have one restriction at 4,600, and then we need to be at 4,100, which is our platform altitude into Kitchigan. So 22 minus 4 is 18,000, and since we are going to descend at a 3-degree glide slope, that's 18 times 3. 18 times 3 is 54, and 54 plus about 10 nautical miles for contingency puts us at 64 nautical miles. So we need to begin our descent at 64 nautical miles from the top of descent from our destination to reach 4,000. So let's go ahead here and take a look. Let's see, there's one here. We're not going to calculate this 12 because we need to be at 4,100 feet here. So we're going to calculate everything before that. We have 59, we have one here, 60, 63. So just about the time we finish here at SQM, we need to begin our descent. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add an additional 20 nautical miles for contingency, total of 30 nautical miles, just considering the speed, airspeed. Actually, what we can do is we can take a look here at, we're going to review the weather station at Kitchigan. PA. Alright, so we have no wind information at this point. Temperature is 13 Celsius. We have an overcast at 10,000 feet. Visibility is pretty good at the moment in Kitchigan, so we are good. This is what's happening in our current location. Looks like there is some rain here. So what I'm going to do, it looks like we have some icing condition because I can see the speed dropping. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to turn on the anti-ice. And we're going to give it a little bit of power. Right, this should, yeah, let's take a look outside. Yep, there's definitely lots of rain here. And of course this is not uncommon at this altitude, 22,000 feet. Alright, so everything looks good at the moment. Our speed is good, altitude is 22,000, and all is looking good for the remainder of our flight. I'm going to see you guys in approximately 20 nautical miles where we will begin our descent into Kitchigan. Enjoy the flight. Welcome back, folks. We are now at 22,000 feet, and it's probably a good time for us to begin the descent to 4,600. So what we're going to do is we're going to we're going to reset the altitude to 4,600 feet. 5,000. We'll change the mode here so we can go by a 100 feet increment, decrement in this case. There we go, 4,600. That's our first restriction. We're going to come over here to the autopilot and we're going to set this to Alt Select. There we go. So Alt Select is now armed, and we're going to change the pitch selector to IIS hold. And what we're going to do is we're going to extend the speed brake to reduce our speed to 250 knots. As you can see, the aircraft has begun the descent. But we do want to accelerate the deceleration to 250 knots so that the aircraft can begin the descent. And what we're going to do at this point is we're going to put this back where it belongs, and now we're going to ease off on the power and make sure that you don't idle the power completely because you could lose fuel pressure to the engines. So we're going to... There we go. And what we're going to see now is that the aircraft will begin pitching down to maintain 250 knots. Similar to the 737 in some ways. As you can see now, the vertical speed is going down. Alright, and as you can see now, we are descending to 4,600 feet. All is looking good. And we're going to maintain 250 knots. We have now reached our transition altitude, so let's go ahead and grab the altimeter of our current location, which is 3015. 3015, and we'll set the same thing here, 3015. There we go. And on the first officer side, 3015. And let's see here, 45 nautical miles before we clear Doozy. So we're looking okay in terms of our descent rate, about 17,000 feet. Alright, we have now just passed the 10,000 feet mark, so we're going to go ahead and turn on our landing lights. Alright, at this point we're pretty close to our destination, so I'm going to set the altimeter to the destination altimeter, which is 3018. We're going to do the same thing here, and the same thing on the first officer side, 3018. Alright, let's take a note of our speed for our landing speed. So for landing, we're going to do flaps 30, and our VREF speed is 124 knots. We're going to add about 5 to that. That puts us at 129, so say about 130 knots for our landing. Alright, all is looking good. We are descending through 7,300 to 4,600. I think we're looking good, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set this to 4,100, which is our final platform altitude. And what we're going to do at this point is we're going to start reducing our speed to about 210 knots. So we're going to bring the aircraft here to 210. I'm going to extend the speed brake to accelerate the speed reduction, because we do want to maintain our rate of descent. Alright, here we go. That's good enough. As you can see, the runway is right ahead of us now. That's the airport right there. And everything is looking good at the moment. We are about 500 feet from our platform altitude. Alright, at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and reduce our speed to about 180 knots. There we go. And we'll extend the speed brake again to accelerate our speed reduction. There we go. And what we're going to do, oh, we need some lights, man. Alright, let's see here. That's much better. Alright, so we are right ahead. We are almost there at our I'm going to extend flaps 5 now. And let's see here. So we are almost there. What we're going to do momentarily is configure the aircraft for our approach. Alright, so we need to start giving it some power now to maintain our speed. Right, we are at 4,100. Speed is going down. We're going to maintain about 160 or so. Alright, so everything now is looking good for our approach. And what we need to do now is we need to come down here and set the nav radio to the ILS frequency, which is 109.3. So that is set. And what we're going to do is we're going to set this to auto glide slope, and we're going to set this guy here to auto approach. Okay, as you can see, the VOR lock is now illuminated. Glide slope is still in yellow because the aircraft hasn't really captured the glide slope yet. We're looking good now, flaps 5, and we are at about 160. And we're going to begin reducing our speed to our final approach speed and set the landing gear down as soon as we see the needle starts moving below this line here, or below this dot here. Okay, so all is good. So just quickly, for the descent, for auto land, capturing the glide slope and the ILS, you need to do two things. You need the three things, beg your pardon. You need the ILS frequency set in the nav radio. You need to set the nav selector to auto glide slope, which is selected, and you need to set the mode selector to approach auto. Alright, we're looking good, and right here now what we're going to do is we're gonna extend flaps, and we're gonna, now as you can see, the glide slope is active, so we need to reduce our speed now. And I'm gonna go ahead and select the gear down. We need to be very careful about our speed, as this aircraft does not have an auto throttle. So I'm going to go ahead now and reduce power. And we're going to maintain about 130 knots, coming up to 140. So I'm going to go ahead and extend flaps 30 now. Again, make small corrections to the throttle. Pretty stable at the moment. All's looking good. We need to watch out for the mountains to our right. Alright, at this point we're going to set the auto brake to medium, because we do have a short runway here at Kitchigan. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead, and we still need to adjust our throttles just a bit here. Alright, we're almost there now. Really nice scenery of Kitchigan in Alaska. I can see that the speed is increasing because the aircraft is pitching down. So we need to make sure we maintain 130. Looking good. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and take over now. So we're going to go ahead and turn off the autopilot. And it is my plane now.
$500.
500 feet to go.
400.
400 feet.
300. 200. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
That was a pretty hard landing. Alright, reversers are out. And we're going to go to manual braking.
2,000 feet remaining. 1,000 remaining.
Alright, let's go ahead and make our turn here. And we're going to begin retracting the flaps now. And we can turn on taxi lights. Those lights we don't need anymore. And we don't need the strobe. And we're going to go down the hill now to the gate area. Alright, here's the gate, so we're going to go ahead and set the aircraft at the gate. Let's go ahead and set the parking brake, and we're going to go ahead and kill the engines. And let's go ahead now and take a look at our landing. Well, folks, this brings us to the conclusion of our video today. I hope that this was a useful and informative video. If you have any questions on operating the Boeing 727 by FlyJSim, please do post your comments in the comments section below. Until next time, please take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you all very soon. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.